Hello fellow Star Wars fans, my name's Starrapter. Welcome back for another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're new to the show, basically every week I go over everything new in the Star Wars universe that ties back into the movies, so this could be anything such as the TV series, the novels, the comics, and to the video games. But this week we had another episode of Star Wars Rebels. This is Season 3, Episode 8, titled The Wyncanthu Job. So what did I think of this episode of Rebels? In a nutshell, I didn't like it at all. So let's get into it first by talking about the plot. So what happens in this story is basically the Rebels, they encounter Hando Anaka yet again, and this time he magically is friends with Az Morgan, that pink fat alien that, last time we seen him, he was pretty much going against him as a rival. So now they're teamed up together. They give the Rebels kind of intel on this abandoned Imperial transporter that has a ton of proton bombs, which for whatever reason the Rebels are always after these damn proton bombs, but they were also his treasure. So Hando wants them to assist him so they can get the proton bombs and he can get the treasure. So basically what happens is Zeb is partnering up with Ezra, and just the two of them are going to go and try to get this proton bombs, and that's basically the gist of the episode. There's not really a whole lot that goes on with this thing. The Rebels end up going there, and of course there's these Sentinel droids, these Imperial droids that wake up and they're trying to fight these things and get the loot and get out of there, and that's pretty much the whole episode. And yes, it's as thin as that sounds. There was not really a whole lot with plot at all, which has really been plaguing me with Rebels in general, and I'm going to go into some of the specifics here. First, I'll start out with the positives, some things I did like about the episode. First off, anytime we have an episode that's Zeb and Ezra together, I think it's a great time. There's a great relationship with these two characters. It's going all the way back since episode 2 of season 1. I think it's Fight or Flight. I think that was the episode title. So yeah, they're kind of like brothers, they kind of fight and they push each other. But in the long term, they're both from the same cause and they're both doing the same thing, and they both, really appreciate each other's help. So I really like the banter they have between each other. Another thing I did enjoy was, of course, anytime they bring stuff from Legends, the old expanded universe, I dig it a lot because I absorbed a lot of that stuff throughout my short life. So yeah, they had, first off, I want to talk about this one Imperial ship design. I do remember having a micro machine of this like triangular ship, and that was the ship that they go on that's hauling the cargo freighters. So that was really cool seeing that. Another thing, and this is arguably the best part about this episode, was seeing those Imperial Sentry droids. Now, you guys that play Dark Forces for the PC, one of the very first Star Wars games, you might remember these things. They're basically on the first couple levels of the game where you play as Kyle Katarn, you're getting Death Star plans. I think they came in later than that though. But yes, they actually pulled them out of the game, put them in this. I really like that because if you think back, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there really is a whole lot of Imperial droids in general in Star Wars, at least ones that have fighting capabilities. I mean, the only other one that comes to mind are Imperial probe droids, but other than that, and that's the funny thing, was that the creators on Rebels Recon were actually saying, oh, let's put the probe droids in, and they said, wait, we have this vast data bank of characters, let's actually pull these from Legends, these droid sentry guys, and put them in there. And they're very cool. They look like, super battle droids, just really big, bulky. Hopefully we see more of them again. I certainly like their design a lot. And that's pretty much where the positive things end for me on this episode. First off, the humor with that one character, Az Morgan, is just, it's bad. I mean, Az Morgan might be my least favorite Star Wars character in general. He's the one scene really got me when he's trying to get through that little hatch. He's trying to shove his fat ass down that thing, and it's just like, it was just so bad. It just, the character, he needs to die already. I was actually waiting for him to die in this episode. Like, come on, please kill him off, and he somehow survived. And moving from that character on to Hando Anaka, I feel like at this point we've had him a little bit too many times, and now he's kind of lost his luster. I really enjoyed the character in Clone Wars, that's where he's originally from, but now we see Hando Anaka, and he's just kind of wearing thin for me at this point, and it's just like, I don't really care about the character anymore. I really hope that, these last couple episodes, they're introducing all these rebels, cells and different things. I really hope by the end of this season we get some big battle or something that kind of ties this stuff all together, because an episode like this is just one of those episodes that seems like it's filler to me. I know a lot of people don't like the term filler. There's a good, then I'll talk about this right now. There's a difference between having a good filler episode and something that can stand on its own feet and it's enjoyable, and then you have an episode like this, which I don't really like. It just didn't go anywhere for me. And some more things I want to talk about is like, just Ezra in general. Okay, so we have Ezra in the beginning of season 3. He's fighting with himself, with the dark side, the lure of, Darth Maul and all this stuff. And now in this episode, it seems like he's magically reverted back to season 1 Ezra. He's that kid on the streets running around. Like, I just don't see, how they expect us to believe that, okay, in the beginning of the season he's this way, and now all of a sudden he's this way, and then they're gonna probably, in the end of the mid-season finale, when they have Maul show up again, they're probably gonna just have him automatically turn to like that conflicting emotions again. I don't really buy it. I think they should have just kept going and playing with this thread throughout all the episodes, because he's been in most of them at this point. But yeah, that is pretty much my spiel of Rebels. I mean, these last 2 episodes really bummed me out. I'm looking forward to next week's episode where they go back to Lothal. I've seen a couple previews, and it does look promising. But that's going to do it for my Rebels kind of recap review. What did you guys think of Rebels? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of the current couple episodes? Do you feel the same way as I do, a little bit let down? Let's talk about it in those comment sections below. Okay, so that wasn't all that we had in canon this week. We also had the release of Star Wars Annual Number 2. If you guys remember, Annual Number 1 was about that rebel spy spec ops soldier that was trying to infiltrate this compound to kill the Emperor, and of course he failed. So getting into this plot specifically, and first out I want to point out that it was written by Kelly Thompson with art by Emilio Lasso. That's significant to point out, because usually it's Jason Aaron that's the writer, so this is actually a different creative team. So yeah, getting into the plot, this is first off a Princess Leia-centric story. It takes place on the planet of Scori Lee, and we first open up to this new female human character who is neither affiliated with the Empire or the Rebellion, and she's just kind of a person that just, I guess, moves different crates and stuff. It's just like a mover. She used to be an engineer, but then we find out that she actually is hiding Princess Leia, who's been injured, and we don't really understand how she was injured in the first place. But next thing you know, this character, Pash, in quotations, Bash Devani, people call her Bash because she basically likes to punch people a lot, or at least gets in fights. So Bash is basically trying to get Leia out of there, because the Imperials are there and they're looking for Leia. They know that she's on the planet. So basically this neutral character, Bash, is thrown into this conflict, which she doesn't really want to be, and she has to kind of pick sides, or else she's going to be killed by the Emperor. So she does eventually get Leia, and they go through this really cool underwater chase sequence, and they are reunited with Luke, Han, and Chewbacca, and it's all a happy ending. So yes, in general, I really did like this issue. I really did like it a lot. I'm a big fan of these one-shots. Like I said, I did enjoy Annual Number 1, and the Darth Vader Annual was really good too. So I first want to talk about the character of Posh Bash Devane. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'll just call her Bash from here on out in the discussion. When I first, flipped the page open to seeing this character, she's got the red hair, the fair skin. I said, holy crap, it's Mara Jade, but they're not going to introduce Mara Jade into the canon of Star Wars in a comic. At least I don't think they'd want to do it that way. They want to put her in a movie or something. But yeah, so you can definitely notice that it's not Mara Jade, only because the muscle mass this girl has is pretty spectacular. I don't know what kind of steroids that the galaxy has in the underworld there, but she must be using something, because she's jacked and she's super tall. Again, she lifts things all day. She's got to have a pretty good stature to be able to do that sort of thing. But I just did like, I like the perspective that she has. She's just trying to do her job, and there's this whole galactic civil war going on with the Empire and the Rebellion, and she doesn't really want to be part of this. She just kind of wants to get on with her life. and she's kind of thrust into this conflict, like I said. And I just really like this character. I'm very interested to see where she goes from here on out, because obviously at the end of this, she does decide to join the rebellion thanks to how compelling of a motivator Princess Leia really is. Okay, so I'm convinced that Bash is actually the female equivalent of Dash Rendar in canon. We might not be getting Dash Rendar, but this female might be the closest thing we have to him. And just some things I want to point out to why I think this way is, first off, Bash rhymes with Dash, and of course she wears a lot of green, which Dash Rendar has in his costume. She's got the red hair, the fair skin. She's neutral. She doesn't want a part of being with the Empire or the Rebellion. And, you know, it just kind of, for me, it kind of all fits into place. What do you guys think about that? Am I going crazy? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm just a huge fan of Dash Rendar, and any kind of rendition of him in Star Wars canon would be a huge win for me. Another thing, I just really like the tone of this one-shot. Really fun, thrilling. You learn a lot about these characters, and there's like some chase sequences, and you run into the old gang of Luke and Han. I just like the fast pace of the issue. One of the best parts about this issue, and what really sold me on this issue, probably in this moment more than the entire Princess Leia miniseries did, was Leia thinking about Alderaan, telling Bash about Alderaan, about, you know, because Bash doesn't like Princess Leia at all. She's been going on about the whole issue, like, I don't want to be associated with her, and we find out the reason is because of Alderaan. Leia was kind of, in Bash's eyes, was the reason that Alderaan got destroyed. So here you have Leia, who has to kind of speak her mind of the whole situation. It gets to the point where she says she would do it all over again. She would have her home planet of Alderaan destroyed if it meant that it just gave the rebellion a chance to actually overthrow the Empire. And it got to the point where she actually was like, tears were coming out of her eyes, and it was one of the coolest things I've actually seen in the Star Wars comics so far. So bravo to Kelly Thompson on writing that part. That was something else. I did not expect that. And that, like I said, is what sold me. Getting into some other aspects I really liked. The battle underwater scene was really cool. First off, we don't really get many underwater battles in Star Wars. I mean, there was a couple episodes in Clone Wars, you know, the Gungans and the Phantom Menace. But it's interesting, and not only that, but there was also these whip weapons that, you know, both Bash and Leia had, where like it's like a laser whip, but then it had like an explosion whenever it contacts something. So that was really, really neat. Another thing I liked was seeing, you know, the big three in the gang, you know, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Leia, and Luke, to see how they're perceived by Bash. And that was another turning point for her character arc, was like, she didn't want to join a rebellion, but thanks to Princess Leia, and then she was also in the presence of all these people, and they were like, as she was saying, they were like a family. They were so happy, and seeing them from the outside was able to push her over the edge to actually want to help you know, the galaxy and join the rebellion. So I thought that was awesome. And finally, I just want to touch upon the art design. I really liked it. I don't know how else to explain it. You guys can tear me up in the comment section below, but I really did like how, to me, it seemed like it was like a Disney type of artwork. Kind of really, really cartoony, really stylistic, but I really, damn well, I enjoyed it. And like I said many times, I really like this issue. Guys, go out and pick up Star Wars Annual #2. If you've never read a Star Wars comic before, go ahead, pick this thing up. I think you'll really enjoy it. You don't really have to know anything else about the Star Wars comics to get into it, since it's like a one-shot. So what did you guys think of Star Wars Annual #2? Let me know in the comment section below. That's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starrapter head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.